baseball on CTV. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada, and proud sponsor of Labatt's Blue Pitch. From the major leagues to neighborhood diamonds, it's the way we play. Brought to you by Esso, going that extra mile. By Xerox, we answer to you. And by your local bottler of Coca-Cola Classic. You can't beat the real thing. It's the Texas Rangers, the Toronto Blue Jays, opening night at the fabulous Sky Dome in Toronto, and what a night it should be. The President of the United States, George Bush, and our own Prime Minister, Brian Mulroney, are in attendance. What a way to kick off a baseball season. And here to help us kick it off, back for his 14th season, is Don Chevrier. Don?
Well, thank you, Fergie. And alas, Tony Kubek is no longer with us, but our new baseball partner, Tommy Hutton, is on assignment tonight in Oakland. We'll hear from him a little later on, and he'll join us on Sunday at Kansas City. But great to be here for a brand new season, and also to welcome tonight CTV's Dan Matheson. Danny, tonight, getting to the ballpark wasn't half the fun.
Well, Chevy, if you want to watch a baseball game with the President of the United States, leave your car keys at home. More metal detectors and security people in this building, I think, than in all the airports in the country put together. But a lot of tension tonight, a lot of drama, because 3 weeks spring training, we just don't know much about these teams.
We'll find out more tonight. A big night of baseball, a big night here in the Sky Dome. Stay with us on CTV. Take the field. Opening nights, Fergie, are always special, but this one certainly, with the dignitaries here, a little extra special. I think the people here sense that.
Well, they sure do, with the President of the United States, George Bush, who I might add is a great baseball fan. Of course, his son, George Jr., is part owner of the Texas Rangers. George Jr. is not here at the Sky Dome for this game. The spotlight is on the President tonight and the Prime Minister of Canada, Brian Mulroney. Of course, they will throw out the opening pitches. The teams are being introduced, the Blue Jays and the Texas Rangers and Toronto Blue Jays.
And last night, of course, in Texas, the Blue Jays got off to a rough start against Nolan Ryan. He went 5 innings of hitless ball, got a lead, left, and Texas won it by a score of 4-2 in Arlington. These teams chartered back after midnight, the Jays landing between 5 and 6 a.m. So it's been a short night for all concerned here, but they're all pumped out now. Plenty of adrenaline as they're getting ready to go for opening night here in Toronto. And this crowd has waited all winter long to welcome back the boys of summer.
Pitching for the Blue Jays tonight and warming up in the left field bullpen, number 37, Dave Steve. The non-starters, coaches, and support staff. Number 4, second baseman Manny Lee. Number 5, the designated hitter, Rance Mullenix. Number 7, third base coach John McLaren. In the bullpen, number 8, bullpen coach John Sullivan. Number 10, catcher Pat Borders. Number 15, batting coach Gene Tennis. Number 18, infielder Tom Lawless. Number 22, pitcher Jimmy Key. Number 24, outfielder Glenn Allen Hill. Number 25, first base coach Mike Squires. Number 26, catcher Ozzie Virgil. Number 27, pitcher Willie Blair. Number 30, pitcher Todd Stottlemyre. Number 31, pitcher Dwayne Ward. Number 34, pitcher Jim Acker. Number 36, pitcher David Wells. Number 39, pitcher Paul Kilgus. In the bullpen, number 42, pitching coach Galen Cisco. Number 44, pitcher Frank Wills. Number 46, pitcher Mike Flanagan. Number 50, pitcher Tom Henke. pitcher John Cerruti. Number 56, infield instructor Hector Torres. Trainer Tommy Craig. Assistant trainer Brent Andrews. Equipment manager Jeff Ross. Ladies and gentlemen, your 1990 Toronto Blue Jays.
Steve, as Fergie told you, is the starter against the wily veteran Charlie Huff, who maybe has lost a little bit of it last year. That knuckleball not fooling as many people as it had in years gone by. So a crucial start for Charlie Huff tonight to get back in gear. Dave Steve, of course, having gone back to that pitch of his he abandoned, after 86, he came back to the slider, Fergie. It's made a tremendous difference. And there is the President of the United States now, his son, a majority owner of the Texas Rangers. So with the Rangers jacket, out comes the President of the United States.
And of course our Prime Minister, Brian Mulroney. The corps of photographers await the...
Number one, the strengths are certainly going to come from the pitching staff. We talked a lot about that in the spring, the three of us when we got together. I think the depth of the pitching staff is going to be important. It's going to be interesting to see how Dave Steve gets off to a start, hopefully a good start. Jimmy Key pitched well his last outing. That was great news. And so there'll be two different types of pitchers tonight with Charlie Huff going and Dave Steve.
The Toronto Blue Jays have I have one concern about them, Fergie. We saw it late last year. We saw it in spring training. Tremendous offensive potential, but where has the run production been? Certainly way down this spring in Dunedin.
Well, the bats were weak. There's no question about that in Dunedin. But this is a team that you can remember, Don, how they started last year under Jimmy Williams at 12-24. You've got to think that everybody sitting here at the Dome tonight is saying, boy, I hope they don't get off to the same start again.
Well, I think our starting pitchers, we have a pitch count on them, and the first three guys that start, Todd Stottlemyre, and along with Dave Steve, and along with John Cerruti is up to about 85, and then when you get to Jimmy Key and along with Mike Flanagan, they're a little bit less than that. So I think everybody's going to suffer a little bit with their starting pitchers and the fact that they can only go so many pitchers.
In the East Division, Don, I think that it's going to go right down to the wire between Baltimore and Toronto again. I think the Orioles, certainly a team for real. That was not a fluke what they did last year.
You see 42-year-old Charlie Huff arrive in the Texas dugout, ready to go at the age of 42. You put it one way, he and Nolan Ryan combined are 85 years of age, two of the mainstays on this Texas Ranger roster, as the Jays found out last night. Huff 10-13, 1-1 against the Jays, his performance last year, opposing Sir Dave Steve, the right-hander who goes on and on and on, and tonight against this lineup, Fergie.
Jeff Hewson, shortstop, second baseman that the Rangers picked up from Montreal, will lead things off. He didn't play last night. Palmeiro homered last night at first. Harold Baines, the DH. Ruben Sierra out in right field. He should have been the MVP in the American League last year. He wasn't. They gave it to Yount. Franco at second base. He's the guy that really looks after Sierra. Took him under his wing. Gino Petralli doing the catching, an ex-Blue Jay. Pete Incaviglia out in left. His fielding has definitely improved. Buechele at third. And Gary Pettis, who will be the catalyst, will be out in center field. He is a sensational outfielder, and he'll really improve Sierra at Incaviglia.
Well, he's got the speed to cover the ground. Late of the Tigers, Lloyd Mosby takes his spot over in Detroit. Steve, a 17-8 year last year, but flirting with those no-hitters, the most memorable part of his career. He's got 148 wins. That is tops on the all-time Blue Jay parade. And as we referred to earlier, once he regained the slider to go along with his good running fastball, Dave Steve has been the Dave Steve of old the last couple of years. One thing hasn't changed, though, his luck late in ball games.
Don, he was the last Blue Jay to report to spring training. The first day in batting practice, he looked like he was in mid-season form. Players had trouble hitting him, and he was ready to go. He had pitched quite a bit prior to coming to spring training, so he is ready. He's sharp. His last outing, he went 5 innings against Philadelphia, gave up 3 hits.
Here's his support tonight on the outfield. George Bannon left. Mookie is in center field, and Junior Felix patrols right. Kelly Gruber stationed at third. Fernandez at shortstop. Nelson Laureano at second. Fred McGriff at first base. And the young Greg Myers, the replacement for Ernie Witt, left-handed hitting catcher, will be catching Dave Stieb today. Tell you how tough Stieb was last year against all opponents. The average 219 hitting against him. That's 188 versus right-handers. So Dave Stieb had an enormous season with 17 wins. And if anybody's going to break through to 20 this year, it could be Stieb. Here is Jeff Hewson now, and the first pitch from Stieb has been delivered. Down and in for ball one. Dale Ford is calling balls and strikes. Drew Coble, Tim Welke, and Jim Evans are the base umpires.
Hewson's a type of player that'll hit to the opposite field. You notice how in center field, Mookie Wilson and over in left, Bell, they're shading Hewson to hit to the left side of the diamond.
Count is 1-1. He's a singles hitter, young Jeff, who'll take advantage, as you suggest, of the entire field. Lariano vacuums the ground ball, and Hewson is the first out of baseball in the Skydome this year.
I think Hewson should help this ball club, Chevy. He's pretty good defensively, and if he can just hit 250 or 260, he'll be an asset.
Next up, the first baseman, Rafael Palmeiro, had a 2-for-3 night last night, home run and a run batted in. A 278 spring for him at Port Charlotte, about a 2-hour drive south of Dunedin, where the Blue Jays train in sunny Florida. Stieb starts him with a strike.
Palmeiro's a pretty good low fastball hitter. I think he's an excellent hitter.
He's increased his upper body strength with weights in the offseason, expected to increase his power production. Fouls this off to left field. 2 quick strikes on the Texas Rangers first baseman. Palmeiro acquired from the Chicago Cubs in that Mitch Williams deal December 5th of '88. Had a big season with the Cubs. Hit .307 with them that year.
Well, if you look at his season last year, Don, he was leading the American League in hitting for the first 6 weeks. And then what happened? They say the heat got to him in Texas. But he started out hitting .361, hit .235 in the last 110 ball games. He's a better hitter than that, believe me.
Only 196 against the Jays. He did homer twice, though, with 5 RBIs against Toronto. A 1-ball, 2-strike count now. Palmeiro making the quick working Stieb wait just a little bit. Cuts it foul, holding the count right there. On deck is the DH Harold Baines.
Don, we've sure waited a long time for tonight, haven't we?
Seems like forever
Yeah,
since Oakland came in here and took the Blue Jays out so unceremoniously, led by Canseco and Henderson last October. It seems like a year, not just half a year. Stieb missing. It's 2-2 now. The count even.
Greg Myers is doing the catching. I know the Rangers stole 4 bases last night off Myers, but you've got to put that down to Stottlemyre, I thought. They're trying to speed up Stottlemyre's delivery.
Way up behind shortstop. Fernandez makes the call. He's got the second out. So 2 quick outs here on opening day of 1990. And a year ago today, Dave Stieb pitched a 1-hitter as the Jays beat the Yankees 8-0. Of course, with Dave, you know it wouldn't be a no-hitter. 1-2, 1-2. He works to Baines, who held the hot bat last night for power. 3 RBIs with his home run in the opening game in Arlington. Had a good spring, as you can see.
He's another low ball hitter. He hit a pitch off Stottlemyre last night that was down and in.
Chops that one foul right side. 2 strikes to him. He, of course, came from the Cubs late last season, where he hit .321 in Chicago and dipped to .285. Once he got to Texas, maybe the heat a factor there. But he killed the Jays with a .344 average in '89. Upstairs, 1-2. Baines came to Texas Along with Fred Manrique in the deal that sent Scott Fletcher, Sammy Sosa, now a regular with the White Sox, and Wilson Alvarez to Chicago.
One thing about Steve, when you face him, you know what you're going to get. A good fastball, an outstanding slider.
Question is, can you handle either one? Especially that slider, if it's right, it's oh so tough to hit.
He does throw a straight change as well.
Full count. Base hit to right. Harold Baines aboard with 2 out for Ruben Sierra.
If Harold Baines stays healthy, he'll do a lot of damage. Again, he's had all sorts of problems with his knees, but look at this pitch. Right down the heart of the plate. Full count. Steve had to come in with it.
And now Sierra, the man who indeed should have been the MVP in this league last year. A .306 average, 29 home runs, 119 RBIs. If that doesn't do it for you, I don't know what will. He didn't get enough votes.
George Bell said he should have won it. A lot of other people felt that way too.
Not just a hot last season. He's had a hot 3 seasons in Texas. He cuts it foul. His average the last 3 years, 27.3 homers and 106.3 RBIs per season. That's power consistency.
Well, Sierra said they stole it from him. Those were his thoughts.
He has people who would agree with that. Earlier in his career, he's a switch hitter. He was tougher from the left side. The last 2 years, though, his numbers from the right have been better. Hitting left against Steve here with an 0-1 count. Valeriano, and the inning is over. The Rangers waste the base hit by Baines, and the Blue Jays will be coming to bat for the first time at home. This is Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. George Bell in left field batting cleanup. Fred McGriff at first base hits behind him. The rookie John Olerud, one of just 16 players in history to bypass the minors and come straight to Major League Baseball, gets a start as a DH. Greg Myers, the catcher, Nelson Liriano, and the right fielder Junior Felix with his speed hits 9th at the bottom of the Blue Jay lineup. Charlie Huff, 10-13 last year, a win and a loss against the Jays, 6-9 lifetime against them, but his skills perhaps in decline. The knuckle not moving quite as much. And now he's got a fastball that doesn't crack 80 and a slider to go along with it from time to time. Here's the defense.
Incaviglia, Pettis, Sierra in the outfield. Buechele, who made a great play off of Kelly Gruber last night at third. Hewson at short. Franco at second. Palmeiro and Petrelli. Charlie Huff might be really the only true knuckleballer left in this game. Sure, Candiotti throws it. Quisenberry's still around. He throws it a little bit. But you'll see knuckleballs 98% of the time from Charlie Huff. He'll throw the odd fastball, won't throw it for a strike.
And he's been able to throw the knuckleball at different speeds over the years, but the question with Charlie is the heavy workload caught up with him? He's averaged almost 230 innings the last 7 seasons.
Don, if he throws that knuckleball for strikes, he's almost unhittable.
Past Fernandez for a 1-1 count. Fernandez, then it'll be Mookie Wilson and Kelly Gruber in the Blue Jay first. Tony, a good contact hitter. Proved to be a very tough out in spring training, but right now, Huff's got him where he wants him at 1 and 2.
How easy do you think it is for these Blue Jay players to face Nolan Ryan last night and come back and go against a floater like Huff?
That's really unfair, isn't it? Pitch is up and away, 2-2. Anybody looks easy once you get past that tandem. Inside corner, yes, says Dale Ford. A call, third strike to Fernandez. Let's go to Dan Matheson.
Gino Petrelli, you have to catch the guy with that dancing knuckleball tonight. Maybe you can show us the tools you use to help defend yourself.
Well, actually, this is a glove that I use with our regular staff, and then when Charlie's out there, I go to my bigger glove because it's much too difficult to try and handle with the smaller glove. As you can see, there's quite a difference in this glove, and sometimes I have difficulty handling with this glove. The key for Charlie is that he maintains his release point and throughout the course of the game, and it makes it somewhat easier. At times he tries to do too much out there and struggles, but his last outing in spring training, he threw the ball well, and we were successful. So we're looking for the same type of outing out of Charlie tonight.
I tell you that the toughest thing for a catcher to do is to relax out there. Petrelli has been able to do it, but Huff also said that the guy that did the best job catching him was Bob Uecker.
Now remember what you've seen. You've seen Mookie take a walk. You won't see it all that often this season. He is at first base for Kelly Gruber, who produced the Jays 2 runs last night on the 4-2 loss in Arlington, going 2 for 4, driving in both. Not a good spring overall for him, though.
Huff's got an outstanding move to first. That's not it.
One thing you have to like about Gruber, too, is his ability to make adjustments at the plate. Pulling with power in one at bat, shortening his swing, going the opposite way the next time up. He's a very tough out, as right now Huff is preoccupied with the speed of Mookie.
One thing you'll notice about Huff, Don, is that he's got a quick release home. And when you throw that knuckleball, you have to have that or they'll steal you blind. You know, he averages 1.5, 1.6 seconds to home plate, and that's pretty darn good.
He did give up 26 stolen bases last year. Around goes Gruber. It is 1-1, but he still has that tough motion to steal against, a motion that barely stops. He really got nailed in '88 when the umpires were cracking down on balks. Remember that?
Remember in spring training he had 7 or 8 balks in 1 inning?
Against the Jays.
Yep. 9 on the day.
Now that rule is relaxed, much to the relief of Mr. Huff.
He said he had only 1 balk last year.
Ooh, close. Wilson diving safely back in time.
It looked like Mookie was going. He caught him leaning.
He was a long way out there, wasn't he? Got him that time. Drew Coble guns down Wilson with the out call at first base.
Mookie thought he was back in there. You be the judge at home. Palmeiro, the first baseman, watch the right hand. He's safe.
He was in there.
He sure was. A bad call by the first base umpire, Drew Coble.
Persistence pays off for Huff. Gruber now takes it high. It is 2-1. Piece for Kelly. 2 balls and 2 strikes. While that is disheartening to have a call go that way against you, it won't cut back on the aggressiveness of a Mookie Wilson one little bit.
Go, Kelly!
Field, but not that deep for Gary Pettis. And that'll do it. Jays get a little bit of a chance with Wilson, but that's erased quickly by Huff on the call by Coble. And we are scoreless after 1 in Toronto and Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Well, yeah, we're a little bit concerned only at the 3 weeks of spring training. I think that, you know, we got a ways to go, like every other ball club probably, and so we're not really different than anybody else. We're going to try to pick it up in the next couple of weeks, and yes, I'll admit that we got a ways to go, but things are coming around.
Has it been difficult on you to make things go slowly with the season already underway?
Well, not really. I think you just got to adjust to the situation and see what you got and go from there. And fortunately, so far we haven't gotten anybody injured, which was our prime goal in spring training. So we're kind of right on course.
Well, starting pitching has to be a concern for the Blue Jays, Don. Only one man above 500. You're looking at him, Dave Steve. The rest 500 or less last year. So that is a concern.
Yeah, the injury concerns as well. Of course, Jimmy Key did have such a good outing in his final appearance in spring training that hopes are high for his complete recovery and comeback into the regular season. Julio Franco at the plate, and he got quite a scare a week or so ago with chest pains. He was flown back to a hospital in Cleveland, checked out by an expert there. Just a rib cage injury, nothing as serious as they first feared, and Julio's back in business. He's an aggressive hitter who will just murder high fastballs and low breaking pitches. And right now the count is 2-1 to him, with Gino Petralli and Pete Incaviglia to follow here in the Texas second inning.
You know, Don, when you consider that the Blue Jays won 89 games last year and only Steve was above 500 as far as the starters were concerned, that tells you how good their bullpen was in middle relief.
Cut foul by Franco. Well, it's balance on a ball team that wins it for you. One area picks up the other, and that was certainly the case. The Jays didn't produce as many runs last year, especially in the late going, as their offense indicated it should produce. And yet they scratched away and they stole bases. Wilson made things happen with his speed and enthusiasm, and they got the job done. And they got a power hitter. McGriff didn't hit a home run after September 4th. Hasn't hit one all spring this year either. There's a strike taken by Julio Franco. He stares in disbelief at Dale Ford before walking away.
He thought the pitch was low. Down the heart of the plate, and if you notice where Myers caught that ball, about 4 or 5 inches off the dirt.
So a call goes each way now against Wilson at first, and against Franco he feels on that called third strike for the first strikeout by Steve. Here's Gino Petralli, a one-time Blue Jay. Cracks it down to Liriano. An easy second out here in the second inning. Now the series continues, Texas and Toronto tomorrow and Thursday. Blue Jays will spend Easter weekend in Kansas City. We will have the Sunday game for you from Royal Stadium.
Kevin Brown against John Cerruti, and then Jamie Moyer will face Mike Flanagan in the final encounter.
Mentioned earlier, Fergie, only 16 young ball players bypassed the minors and came directly from the amateur draft since it began to Major League Baseball. This is one. Another is John Olerud. 2 of them in the same game tonight. Pete Incaviglia at the plate.
Pete had an off season last year. A couple of years ago, he went to visit Harry the Hat Walker, who is a great hitting instructor. You know, Harry the Hat, he worked with Vince Coleman. He helped Matty Alou one season when Alou went on to win a batting title.
What they wanted to help him with was his propensity for strikeouts, 136 of them last year, yet he still hit 21 home runs and 81 runs driven in.
The one aspect of his game that he has improved is his defense. And I think it'll improve even more with Pettis out there in center field.
Some of the other names who've gone directly from college or amateur ball to the majors. Dave Winfield was one of them. Bert Hooton, Bob Horner, young Jim Abbott now with California. Incaviglia was drafted by Montreal, but he wasted no time in informing the Expos he would not play for them. He forced the trade to Texas. count is 2-2. 2 gone here in the Texas second. The scoreless home opener at the Sky Dome.
And Steve has picked up where he left off last year. He sure looks sharp, doesn't he?
Very much so. As you say, came right into spring training a little bit late. Began to mow them down like he'd never been away. A full count to Incaviglia. Just missed outside. Rangers second base runner. First pass issued by Steve. The number 8 hitter Steve Buechele, the third baseman, steps up. Just wide. That shot, of course, unique to the Sky Dome like no other in baseball. It's marvelous to see where pitches wound up.
It's unfortunate we couldn't open the Sky Dome roof for the President of the United States. Would have been a nice sight for him to see.
Had the Jays been back at Exhibition Stadium, this would have been a rainout, as it was in Cleveland, where the Yankees were supposed to open the night. Instead, this game goes to the entire United States on ESPN. '28-year-old Steve Buechele hit just .189 against the Jays last year. He goes for strike 2. Buechele, a dangerous low ball hitter. But he can't seem to handle the fastballs.
He hits to the opposite field a lot. Good arm, good defensively. And he'll hit the occasional long ball.
That's discipline there, because quite often in the past when Steve gets behind on the count, he'll chase pitches such as that. But held back, it's 1-2.
Incaviglia stole a base off of Stottlemyre and Myers last night, and when he starts stealing, you got to think that you're in some sort of trouble.
Yep. Big trouble. Up high, is it a strike? Yes, he's gone. They abandoned Incaviglia, wasting his walk at first, as Buechele simply couldn't hold back. No score, middle of the second, and Labatt's Blue Jays baseball. Listen to the bottom of the second for George Bell. And indeed, President Bush isn't the only kinder, gentler George in the ballpark tonight. A very different George Bell at spring training this year, Fergie.
He was relaxed, a little laid back, and a little out of shape, I might add. George was there ready to go first of the month, but of course then they had the lockout. George ended up going back to the Dominican. They say he put back 10 pounds. And when he got back to spring training, he had a tough time. And Cito was running him out, putting him in the lineup every day.
Now, wait a minute. He was only gone 2 weeks. You mean he put on 10 pounds in 2 weeks?
It's easy in the Dominican.
Okay. Well, he still has ongoing shoulder problems that plagued him last year. A 2-1 count to Bell. He'll be followed by McGriff and John Olerud. Georgie! 3-1. George, a free swinger, but you know he's not without discipline. He'll take walks. He won't take an inordinate amount of bad pitches, despite his enthusiasm and desire to pound the ball. Full count here, 3-2.
Injured or not, another thing that goes unnoticed about Bell is that he's in that lineup every day. You know, he's averaged 156 games a season for the last 6 years. So as we've said all along, Bell comes to play. I know it's an old cliche, but he loves the game and loves to get that bat in his hands.
And that bat a big factor in the Blue Jays Eastern Division Championship season last year. Third time in 4 years he had 100 RBIs or more.
You know, you've heard talk about possibility of the Blue Jays trading George Bell. I think Gillick is reluctant to trade Bell simply because, you know, he can still swing the bat. And he's going to drive in 100 runs if he stays healthy.
Franco throws him out by a step and a half. First out of the second inning. Well, here is the workload, and Charlie Huff and Dave Steve are up there at the top of the work parade. Starts from 82 to 89. Some say a factor in Huff's decline, not to mention his age of 42.
Well, Steve has averaged 233 innings in his 10 years here with the Blue Jays. So he has, without question, been the workhorse of this pitching staff over the years.
Fred McGriff, whose home runs stopped coming September the 4th and have not yet returned. 2-0. And I would think after a while that has to play in a young player's mind.
I'm worried, and I'll tell you why. He never even hit a home run in spring training.
No.
Now, you could understand it if he got cold at the end of last season. They're pitching McGriff outside. That pitch right there, outside part of the plate, McGriff cannot hit it. He hasn't learned to go the opposite way. That was his problem last year, and if he doesn't learn to hit that pitch, it'll be his problem again this year.
Up high, swings through it, and he is there at 2-2 with the spring training record of no home runs in 36 at bats. You just wonder if he might start to press a little bit too much in the face of that. Cracks that on the ground to Franco. 2 outs here in the Toronto second inning. Next up, a name that is going to become household among baseball fans across Canada. A youngster from the state of Washington, John Olerud, who appeared in September of last year, came out, and a sweet swing earned him a spot on this team coming to Toronto in the spring of 1990.
You know, he's got a great disposition. Nothing seems to bother him. But I hate to see people put pressure like that on Olerud, saying that he's going to be great. I think he's going to be a pretty darn good hitter, too. He already is. But let's wait a while. Let's wait until he proves himself. And everybody's been saying he's going to do this, he's going to do that. But let's wait and see.
Well, you have had scouts who say it's the best swing since Ted Williams. I mean, outrageous statements. And you're right. It can put an undue amount of pressure on the young man.
Don, you're right in all the things that you have said. But I think it's putting a lot of pressure on the kid's shoulders. He's only 21.
Yet he shows remarkable poise, given that. Of course, the story, you know, the human interest story, how he battled back from the aneurysm on his brain. But 14 months ago, his life was in jeopardy. Pops it up left side out of play. So no matter what he does from here on, he's a success story nonetheless.
Cito Gaston was saying all through spring training that he only saw Olerud swing and miss a pitch twice completely. Well, last night, his first time at the plate, Nolan Ryan struck him out swinging.
Brought him down to earth in a hurry. Cito Gaston sending the young man against the master with a fastball. The bat goes right and Olerud goes nowhere. He strikes out again against Charlie Huff. 2 strikeouts for Huff, who retires the side easily here in the second. It's scoreless after 2, and you're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Attendance records could be set by this team given the expected success of the Jays in the season of 1990. Of course, they led the major leagues last year, could approach 4 million this season. Battling the tough Texas Rangers here to the top of the 3rd inning. From the bottom of the order, Gary Pettis, the center fielder, then Jeff Houston, the shortstop, and Rafael Palmeiro, the first baseman. Dave Steve has given up a base hit and a base on balls while striking out a pair.
Gary Pettis leads it off, and for Pettis, he had a high on-base percentage for Detroit last year. In fact, he drew 84 walks down. If he can come back and have the same type of season for the Texas Rangers with that high on-base percentage, he's really going to help this ball club, even more so with his defense.
A short spring for everybody, but nonetheless not a good spring with a bat for Gary Pettis. But the defense is big attribute. Plus, he'll run some bases for you.
The only thing he can't do, of course, is hit for power.
Or drive in many runs. What did he have 2 years ago, Detroit? 4 for the entire year, 4 RBIs. Incredible. But they don't pay him to do that. 1-1 is the count.
Over 40 stolen bases, though.
273 lifetime. 1 ball and 2 strikes. In fact, last year, the 18 RBIs he did get were the fewest in the league for players who had at least 400 at-bats.
Well, the Rangers went out and gave him a 3-year contract. It was mostly because of his defense.
Strikeout number 3 for Steve. A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Cystic Fibrosis Foundation on behalf of the Labatt's Player of the Game for the Texas Rangers today. And Weed Eater, Canada's #1 gas or electric trimmers for convenience in lawn and garden care. It's easy to be neat with Weed Eater. Shortstop Jeff Houston now grounded out to Liriano his first time out. Houston got into 32 games with the Expos last year. Spent much of the season, though, at Indianapolis, hitting .304.
When Houston was with the Expos and they called him up from Indianapolis, he had a reputation of a good glove, and although he hit .300, they felt if he could just hit .250 in the big leagues and play excellent defense, then that's all they would ask of him. But his defense was terrible with the Expos.
Kelly Gruber in foul territory gathers in the second out of inning number 3. No score. The Leafs cling to life against St. Louis. Game 4 down the road at Maple Leaf Gardens, second period tonight. Still in period 2 of that one. Now Palmeiro. Popped up to Fernandez in the first inning. But as we told you, did some damage last night. Takes ball 1.
At least the Leafs put some life back in that old game of hockey for Toronto fans this year, didn't they?
They've had a good season. Just missed of the knees. Tough to lose, though, as they did in Game 3 with a 60-footer through the goalie's legs. That has to dishearten the hockey team. A little upstairs, but there for a strike.
One thing about Palmeiro, there's really no certain way to pitch him. You can't pitch him in patterns. You got to mix your pitches up with him. He's an excellent hitter.
Little roller. Liriano charges, gets Palmeiro by a step. Another easy inning for the starter, Steve. We head for the bottom of the third, scoreless on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Second baseman Nelson Liriano and the right fielder Junior Felix. Scoreless ball game here. Blue Jays trying to bounce back from the 4-2 loss last night in Arlington, Texas. Myers had trouble throwing people out. Also, Borders was of concern to me, Fergie, the last week of spring training with his throwing. Not as sharp as he had been in bygone years. We are now joined on the booth by Prime Minister, Mr. Mulroney. Nice to see you. We'll pick up the action here in a minute with Myers at first base on a solid single.
How are you? Good to see you.
So, Fergie talking with Mr. Mulroney here in the booth as Myers stands at first base. The Blue Jays' first hit of this ball game. Watching Nelson Liriano, the 2-1 count, and Myers at first base.
We thank our Prime Minister very much, and Mike Duffy.
Well, in fact, the Prime Minister is going to sit in with us and watch this for a little while.
And I think we've got a headset here.
Have to admit that this is one of the great viewpoints in all of sports, right here.
There we go. We'll get it straightened away, Mr. Prime Minister.
Runs it down. Makes a tough throw. Palmeiro gets it at first base. Myers on to second now with 1 out here in the Blue Jay third inning.
How are you enjoying your day with President Bush?
We've had a great day, Fergie. And as you know, the President and I are sports fans, and so apart from our business, we're especially enjoying tonight. I remember when years ago, when I had business in Cleveland on a regular basis, I used to go see the Indians, and guess who was there?
You do remember that day.
I was the only Canadian in the Cleveland Stadium watching the Indians, and Don Chevrier was there doing the broadcast.
Blue Jays, that's right. Back in the early days, and they were happy that you showed up in the stadium because not many did in those days in Cleveland.
That's right, a big stadium too, and I'll tell you, when the crowds were small there, they were really small.
Well, the Indians might have a decent season with all the moves they've made this year. Huff now talking with his catcher Petrale with a 1-0 count. Well, like President Bush, you don't get to see all the baseball you would like, I'm sure, sir.
When Don, when the Expos began in 1969, I was at the first game and used to go to 20-30 games a year, like a lot of people in Montreal, out at Jerry Park. And unfortunately, that's changed, but I still retain a great love of the game.
Outside, what was your line about opening day at the baseball dinner last year? You talked about some excuse on opening day that used to be a fixture to get out of work or the office or something.
Oh yes, the calls would come in to all of the young lawyers in town. Sorry, he's in court. He can't be reached.
It's a great place to be, though, the old ballpark.
Working to Felix, 3-0.
President Bush is quite a fan, isn't he?
He is, and from his days in college, quite a player too. I told him his pitch tonight was low and outside, though.
Left-hander to right-hander. Interesting opening pitches. Felix takes a walk, so Huff showing the first signs of strain here. Blue Jays putting some pressure on, 1 out in the third. Myers at second, Felix at first, and we'll go to the top of the order for the shortstop, Tony Fernandez.
I thought Fernandez had trouble picking up the ball in his first at bat. He struck out looking, and he has not been that comfortable at the plate. Even during spring training, he didn't look like the Fernandez of old. But of course, the season is young, and he'll straighten around.
Well, he's had a lot of injuries in the past and problems, but he arrived at spring training bright, chipper, smiling, a happier looking Tony Fernandez. And you know, from time to time in the spring, I thought to myself, he's going to become a very tough out in this leadoff position. Good contact hitter. An 0-1 count to him. Looking to cash Myers in from second base. Takes it outside. 1-1. Well, Mr. Prime Minister, used to be you get over 35, your days as an athlete are done. But last night, 43-year-old Nolan Ryan worked his magic. Now you got, as you look at Bobby Valentine, 42-year-old Charlie Huff doing his thing on the mound.
Yeah, I saw Charlie picking him off first base. That was pretty embarrassing for somebody like me. But I talked to Nolan in the dressing room before the game, and he really is a phenomenon. You don't see that too often in any sport, and by any standard, it's really quite remarkable.
Mr. Prime Minister, he was over working out about 3 o'clock this afternoon with the weights in the Blue Jay clubhouse. Apparently all the weights aren't in the Texas clubhouse. And there were 7 or 8 players, 3 coaches in there, all just standing around talking to him. I mean, he's an amazing man and a great athlete.
How many games away is from
11, I think. 10 or 11.
11 away?
Yeah.
Marvelous.
But where he derives all his strength from his lower body, the legs, you know, he runs a lot, he works on weights.
Superb condition.
Bobby Valentine said that Huff and Nolan Ryan, when spring training opened, they were the 2 players in the best shape. And Ryan's 43 and Huff's 42.
2 of the oldest.
That's right.
You know, Fergie, when I look at the stadium, I can remember Bill Davis was here tonight. He was Premier of Ontario, and I was the new Prime Minister, and he called me to talk about this stadium and the Crown lands on which it was built, and what it would mean to Toronto and what it would mean to the franchise. And that's where it was with Bill Davis that the idea for this began.
Sure was.
And it's turned out to be really quite a remarkable place. President Bush was saying it's probably the finest in the majors.
There's no question about that. Charlie Huff was telling me the other day, he said it's the greatest facility he has ever seen, and and he can't wait to get to Toronto to pitch in it. And he loves it. He said he thought it would be one big block of cement, but it's far from that.
Well, it kind of looked that way when it started, but it certainly didn't turn out that way.
Force at second takes care of the little Blue Jay uprising after Fernandez strikes out for the second time. Wilson grounding out as they strand Myers. So Huff gets it done after a spot of trouble. We've gone through 3 in Toronto on opening night. The Rangers and the Blue Jays were scoreless on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Play Walt Disney.
The booth during that last half inning as he makes his way around the boxes here in the press area in the Sky Dome. Indeed, anyone would certainly have to be impressed with this facility, which really, Fergie, is in full speed ahead right now. I mean, it was still a building under construction through much of last year, but it really is blossoming into all it can be here in the spring of 1990. Harold Baines will face Steve, then Ruben Sierra, Julio Franco in the 4th inning, the heart of the Texas order. Up into left field, a lot of room for Bell out there. He will wave off Wilson and make the catch. So Baines is gone, 1 for 2 on the night. Steve has given up a single, base on balls, and he's struck out 3.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what kind of a season Ruben Sierra will have for Texas. I'm sure it'll be another MVP because he has such great ability. He's always been compared to Roberto Clemente. Strong arm, great speed, hits for power from both sides of the plate. As a matter of fact, he wears Clemente's number.
And he's just 24. Much more to come.
He's a natural right-handed hitter who became a switch hitter back in '84.
You know, you can do all sorts of things with numbers, but this is remarkable in the case of Sierra. In his major league career, almost 40% of his hits have gone for extra bases. I mean, you're not talking about some puny singles hitter here. He stands 4th among active major league switch hitters behind Eddie Murray, Chili Davis, and Howard Johnson. And again, just 24. 2-1 is the count to him with 1 gone and Julio Franco on deck. Out of play, 2-2. Earlier, Chicago beat Milwaukee for the 2nd day in a row. Boston did the same to the Tigers for the 2nd outing in a row at Fenway.
You don't expect the White Sox to beat the Brewers 2 in a row.
I'd expect the White Sox to beat anybody with their pitching 2 in a row, but they got it done today. Chicago's got decent offense, though. Holding it 2-2. Didn't expect the Mets to be embarrassed at home by Pittsburgh yesterday, but they were 12-3, and there are the final scores in the American League earlier today. Boddicker got the win. 5-3 Chicago. Rudinsky got the win over Tom Filer, an ex-Blue Jay. Cubs also winning over Philadelphia today. Lancaster the winner in that game.
Something in his eye, so he steps out. Notice the little diamond studded earring that he is wearing, the diamond stud. I guess he's making about $1.6 million a year. I guess he can afford one of those, or 2 of them, or however many he wants.
Afford more diamonds than he has ears. Reminder, the series, The French Revolution, returns to CTV tomorrow night. Part 3 tomorrow night on CTV. Full count. him out. Number 4 for Steve tonight.
That pitch was a little out of the strike zone that Sierra went after. High. Look at how off balance he was.
Yep.
Caught flat-footed. Took a little off that pitch, Steve did.
Now the second baseman, Julio Franco. Against Franco, they say a pitcher has to be constantly changing because what gets him out early in the game could cost you toward the end. He adjusts that well.
Well, he's an excellent line drive hitter, Don, and you got to pound him in on the hands. Keep the ball in tight on him, like that first pitch that Steve threw.
Center field for charging Wilson. Back goes Liriano. He makes the call, and he collects the third out of the 4th inning. Steve now has set down 7 Rangers in a row, and he's on a roll in the Sky Dome in a scoreless ball game on Labatt's Blue Jays Base Hill Room out at center field, from where you can watch the ball game. Bring as many friends you can cram in there, and it's a pretty good value actually. You get enough people.
They had a couple of those rooms still available this afternoon. You know, a lot of people heard they were going for $1,000, but apparently they are cheaper than that.
Kelly Gruber at the plate. Goes around on the first pitch from Charlie Huff in this scoreless ball game in the Toronto 4th inning. After Kelly, George Bell and Fred McGriff will be the hitters. Sort of waved at that. 1-1.
Don, if Kelly Gruber can stay healthy, stay away from those injuries, and of course that hand injury that bothered him so much last season, he missed 22 games, he'll have his best season ever.
Considered generally to be coming into his prime now.
Best athlete on the team. Here's a pitch here that he chases. A knuckleball, the bottom falls out. It's tough to lay off that pitch.
4 strikeouts for Charlie Huff. Gruber not the least bit happy with his. Now Bell. Takes it inside. Now it is outside. Bell not buying that either. The thing about Bell down the road, the Blue Jays know that his future is as a DH. I think as George matures, he'll slowly come to grips with that. He just didn't want to do it prematurely under manager Jimmy Williams. Lets it out of play. 2-1.
One thing you fans can watch for this season with the new hitting coach Gene Tennis, he spent a lot of time in spring training with George, and he's trying to get George to drive that outside pitch. Instead of hitting those little flare shots out into right center that he can do so well, drop him in for a single, but he wants to get Bell to drive that pitch with some power.
Makes a big cut there. 2-2.
I always thought that the best bad ball hitter that I've seen as a Blue Jay was Damaso Garcia. Well, Bell was probably a half a step behind Garcia, but Bell is not hitting the bad ball as well as he used to.
He's more restrained now, as a matter of fact. He's more selective at the plate.
When he's in a groove, Don, he can hit anything.
Where Damaso would do it more regularly, this guy would do it with power.
Damaso would pick a ball up an inch or two off the ground and hit a line drive someplace.
Oh, talk about a line drive. Buechele comes down with that shot from Bell. So you're seeing it all tonight, pitching and defense.
About a second to react for Steve Buechele. I mean, this is a bullet. He made a play like that off Kelly Gruber last night, only it was a ground ball instead of a line drive that he went down and got it and threw Gruber out after Gruber had done the same thing to him.
Here is McGriff now. Again, Huff continues to pitch him away, as you noted earlier.
And you'll see that all season long until Freddie learns to hit that pitch.
1-1.
Only one base hit of Charlie Huff, and really the only ball that was hit hard is the one that Bell just hit.
Myers had the only base hit. He has walked 2 and fanned 4. Upstairs. Well, if this guy is washed up, I think somebody might have made a premature pronouncement on him.
He shut the Blue Jays out for 6 innings down in Dunedin just the other day.
Griff taking, missing inside. 3-1 now. Looks like Charlie has got plenty of magic left. Although last year, not a good year. Gave up the most home runs of any pitcher in the league.
He had an excuse last year, Dowd. He went on the disabled list. For the first time in his major league career, he had tendonitis in his right shoulders. McGriff draws a walk. And when he came back, he was 5-2. So he got that old magic back with his knuckleball.
Yes.
He should have a good year for Texas. You know, you can expect Charlie to pitch 250 to 280 innings.
He'll work to the rookie Olerud now. John struck out in the second. He struck out once all through spring training and then comes and faces a couple of the Masters and pays the price. Ryan yesterday, this man Huff today. Upstairs. Charlie getting more and more off the strike zone now, but Charlie wants to talk with him. That knuckler floating a bit.
Charlie says the scoreboard always dictates what he throws up there. Like, he won't throw a fastball in a situation like this to Olerud simply because the fastball really is the only pitch that's going to hurt him if Olerud connects. A knuckleball, you're not going to drive a knuckleball out of the ballpark. Says a close game. He stays with the knuckleball. He doesn't mind if he gives up the odd walk. But his control tonight has been pinpoint, really, for a ball that dances all over the place.
You wouldn't figure that young Mr. Olerud would have seen a whole lot of this kind of pitching at Washington State. Not too many knucklers in the college game. So this is a new experience for John. But patient enough to make Charlie hit the strike zone. He's missed twice at 2-0. We were scoreless in the bottom of the 4th inning. Huff and Steve working on a couple of one-hitters. Olerud slashes that foul left side. A hard-earned opening night souvenir for that couple.
A little incident in spring training involving Olerud. He came in one morning and his locker room was filled with toilet paper. He just calmly reached in, grabbed his uniform, put it on, never said a word, and went out and played.
He does have poise. Good discipline there, and not buying that sinker ball. It's 3-1. Plan is to have Olerud, as you're looking now, the Leafs, the 1-0 lead in the second over St. Louis. Pearson gets the goal for Toronto. Olerud and Mullenix from the left side. Glenn Allen Hill, Ozzie Virgil from the right side is the DHs. And Olerud just works Charlie Huff for a walk. Back-to-back walks now. McGriff at second, Olerud at first. 2 out for Greg Myers.
Well, if you look at the scoreboard, Myers the right guy to have up there. That pitch, as you can see, low and outside. Olerud, an excellent eye so far. We've seen that in spring training. He does a lot of things well. Now Tom House, the pitching coach, he'll come out and they'll go over the hitting chart on Myers, as there's a little action out there in that Texas bullpen.
Well, again, you're going to see pitching coaches and managers react quicker in the early days of this season because of the abbreviated spring training. But for now, House is leaving Charlie Huff in place, at least to buy time for the bullpen. Even though he got Gruber to strike out, he was out of the strike zone for a while against Kelly. Then Bell hammered a ball that Buechele had to spear at third base to save an extra base hit. And then he walked McGriff and he walked Olerud, getting behind both very early. Now Myers, who has the only base hit of the night for Toronto against him. Back of the bag, Palmeiro wins the foot race. The Jays strand 2 more. And through 4, the Rangers and the Blue Jays remain scoreless. On Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball on CTV. Steve of the Toronto Blue Jays.
You would have thought the Blue Jays left their bats in the freezer all winter and still haven't taken them out. So far, just 4 hits in the last 13 innings that they have played. 3 in Texas last night and 1 here this evening.
Seems to be a feast or a famine for the Blue Jays offensively, Fergie. They'll either get a lot of hits or no hits. And this spring, very, very slow in getting those bats around. Now it's 2-1. Lehman gets the second Leaf goal in the second period. Lehman and Pearson for Toronto and Brindamore for St. Louis. 2-1 Leafs as they cling to life. Gino Petralli 0 for 1 tonight. Takes ball 1. Tough season last year. A lot of time in the DL for him. He first won on it after injuring his neck in a bench-clearing brawl. That is 2-0. And then he partially tore ligaments in his left knee when blocking the plate against Joel Skinner. Just appeared at 70 games because of all the injury problems. Tempted, but he holds back. And he's got Steve 3-0.
Petralli's a dead fastball hitter, and he's going to get a lot of off-speed pitches, breaking balls. He was a switch hitter, and he gave that up a year and a half ago.
He doesn't strike out much, and as you can see, 3-1 has got a pretty good eye at the plate. Hits it hard, but right at Fred McGriff.
Well, the infield playing Petralli to pull the ball, and McGriff didn't have to move. Petralli hits a rope.
1 gone for Pete Incaviglia. Baltimore comes in to play the Blue Jays as they pick it up from last fall, April 16th, 17th, and 18th, next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday here in the Sky Dome. Is there more Oriole magic this year? Well, time will tell. They got off to a good start, beating Kansas City in extra innings yesterday. Sam Horn, the ex-Boston Red Sox DH, 2 3-run homers to win it. Incaviglia with a 0-1 count. Walked in the second inning. 0-2 now. Pete tried to reassure fans that ball players weren't making too much money when he said, you know, I want to make it clear. Everybody thinks we're making $3 and $4 million. He said most ball players only make $500,000.
Well, I'll tell you what they make. You've got 153 players in the major leagues today who will make $1 million or more. And then another 27 players who will top the 2 million mark. That's some kind of payroll.
Up in the right field, shallow. McGriff gives way to Liriano, a better line on the ball. That's the second out. Then you've got Don Mattingly, 19 million plus with the Yankees.
See, I don't begrudge a guy like Mattingly making as much money as they'll possibly give him. He deserves it. You know that you're going to get a great effort from him day in and day out. And he deserves lots of money for what he's done and will do.
He'll be a Yankee for the rest of his career, as it should be. Steve Buechele coming off that big play at third base, robbing George Bell of extra bases. Takes it high, ball 1.
Buechele this year in spring training was challenged by Bob, a rookie, who the Rangers have high hopes for, and he looks like he's going to be a good one. They want Buechele to cut down his strikeouts.
He couldn't catch up on that steep fastball. And he is vulnerable to that kind of pitch. Expos in New York, a reminder next on Friday at CTV. Canada's Major League Network CTV rolls into high gear with coverage of the Jays and the Expos for you.
You wonder how much further Dave Steed will go. Although he's only given up 1 hit through 4 2/3 innings, I don't think they'll push him past the 6th inning.
Working on a string of 9 consecutive retired batters right now.
It'd be nice to get him a lead and get him out of there.
Buechele simply waved at that. It is 2-2. Steve has only given up 2 base runners. Baines, a single in the first. Incavitia's walk in the second. So 9 in a row, 12 of 13 he has set down. Full count here to Buechele. Nope. Ball 4.
That's just the second walk that Steve has issued tonight. So with 2 down, that'll bring up the center fielder, Gary Pettis. This pitch, Buechele had a notion, low and outside. Dale Ford, the home plate umpire.
Two gone. Buechele at first for Pettis, who struck out in the 3rd. Fernandez flipped to Liriano, and they just get the force for charging Buechele at second base. Pettis retired to the fielder's choice, and it remains scoreless. Dave Steed through 4.5 on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Here, the Rangers and the Blue Jays are scoreless. At the halfway mark of this ball game, into the Toronto 5th we go with Nelson Liriano, Junior Felix, and Tony Fernandez. Charlie Huff, his control lacking sufficiently to get the Ranger bullpen up in the last inning. Comes back here for one more shot at it in the 5th. Liriano squares to bunt, takes it all the way, 1-0.
A lot of talk in spring training about whether or not the Blue Jays will trade Manny Lee and keep Nelson Liriano.
Pops him up for Petrali in foul territory. Into the big mitt it goes for the first out of inning 5. Now this work.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Ward, honorary chairman, and I'd like you to help strike out Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, hard-hitting diseases that affect thousands of Canadians. Pledge today.
Junior Felix on the bottom of the order. Walk forced at second base in the 3rd inning.
Felix got off to a great start last year. I can remember in spring training, Don, that hit over 400. He made the club with an outstanding spring training, came north, and for the first half of the season, there was no telling how good this guy was going to be. But then a couple of injuries. He hurt his shoulder. Remember, he tried to make that catch in Boston.
Yep.
And he got spiked at first base, nagging injuries, and his production just fell right off.
He sends Sierra way back, and it's over his head and over the wall to the bounce. Ground rule double for Junior Felix, the first extra base hit of the night.
The junior is back. He has some kind of ability, this kid, when he puts it all together. Look at this pitch. He had to go out and get it.
Not much velocity and not much movement on it, and he was right where he wanted it.
It was a knuckleball that he hit.
Now Fernandez looking to atone for back-to-back strikeouts in this game. First to check on the diving Felix. Second base umpire is Tim Wilkie. Felix doing his bit to fight inflation. He was number 54 last year. He's down to 47 here in 1990.
He's got a long way to go, doesn't he?
He does, but he's working on it. He says, I'll let my number go down if my salary goes up. Is that a fair deal or what? One ball, no strikes to Fernandez. Laced to left field. Incomplete. Misjudgment. It's over his head, and Felix will score easily. Fernandez, rounding second, is heading for third base. Incaviglia caught flat-footed, and the Jays lead 1-0.
Davey Lopes has worked with Incaviglia to try to improve his fielding, but what happens on this play is that Incaviglia made the Cardinals in. He broke in right away, and he was caught. He had no chance to get back, to turn and go back on the ball. Felix, he could have walked home, but completely misjudged, and I don't know if it got caught in the lights at all. I rather suspect it didn't. It was a line drive, which really is the toughest ball for an outfielder to try to catch, when a ball is hit directly at him.
And here comes Bobby Valentine. This could be all for Charlie Huff.
And he has been sensational tonight. It's too bad.
Charlie wants to make his case to stay. And Bobby will let him do just that.
Well, how do you take a guy out of the ball game that's only given up 3 base hits?
He took Ryan out last night after giving up none. So early in the season, that can happen.
There's a big difference between Nolan Ryan and Charlie Huff. Charlie Huff could pitch all day. Ryan, you've got to be careful with, you know, opening night and everything early in the season. He's only going to give you 4, 5, or 6 innings.
Yeah, the question in Valentine's mind is, how well can Charlie pitch all day?
Yeah, well, there's no strain on Huff's arm, not like Ryan. Ryan's throwing 95 miles an hour, and Huff is sending floaters up there with that knuckleball that probably around 75 miles an hour.
Mookie walked and then got picked off. Bad call at first base in the opening inning. Base hit to left center field. It is 2-0 Toronto. Fernandez brings it home.
Well, that's what happens when you put a couple of veterans together in a clutch situation. The bats have been cold. A pitch that Mookie Wilson had to go down in the strike zone to get. Right at the knees. A little soft liner into center field. Base hit RBI. 2-0. The Blue Jays lead it.
And with Wilson at first base, a 2-0 lead. If things were rough enough for Huff, he'll now face the heart of the Blue Jays order, the power section, Gruber, Bell, and McGriff.
Huff's the kind of pitcher that instead of going up there and going for the downs, the long ball, you choke up a little on the bat and just try and punch it out. You know, like Mookie did there. Wasn't a big swing.
Yep.
Nice little line drive into center field when it counted.
Gruber takes it down and in. 1-1. Kelly 2 for 4 with the 2 RBIs last night. 0 for 2 with a fly ball to center field to strike out tonight. One ball and 2 strikes. The Yankees and Cleveland rained out in the Indians' home opener across the other lake tonight. In fact, there is no way they would have played this game a year ago at Exhibition Stadium given today's weather.
You know, talking to Gene Petralli before the game, he said, I have no idea where the knuckleball is going. Charlie doesn't know, I don't know. And he said he's so tough to catch. He's got that oversized mitt. That's a glove that Paul Richards came up with for Hoyt Wilhelm way back when.
Close call at first base again for Mookie. Well, it was because he caught Charlie Huff that Gino set the Major League record for most pass balls in a season, 35 of them in 1987.
But it tells you how much Petrelli's improved. Just 2 pass balls last year with Huff.
Got it way down.
And as Charlie would say, Petrelli has learned to relax behind the plate, and that's not easy.
Well, I guess the tendency is that you think you have to spring like a cat because you're never quite sure where it's going to be. Never quite comfortable there as they check on Wilson again at first base. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count to Gruber. 1 gone, 2 runs in a big Toronto 5th inning for a 2-0 Blue Jay lead over the Rangers. Taking low, it is 2-2. There's no question that Huff is struggling here almost desperately, taking much longer between pitches than any other time in this game.
It's interesting how Charlie Huff throws his knuckleball. He holds it with his 2 fingers and his fingernails, and there it is there, but those fingernails, he files them, and he'll sit in that dugout for 10 or 15 minutes with his little fingernail file looking after those nails, but that's how he holds it. We used to think in the old days that you'd have to use your knuckles, but you don't. It's that simple. Digs those nails in.
Should be called a nail ball. 3-2 to Kelly Gruber. Now the trick, apart from shortening up in the swing, as you suggested, Fergie, is to exhibit some patience against this kind of a pitcher. As the game wears on, the Blue Jays are doing that more and more.
He used to drive Willie Upshaw nuts. Willie said it'd take me a week to get on track after I faced him.
Close pitch, but Gruber takes it for ball 4. Gets the call, sending Wilson on to second base. Still just 1 out here in the inning.
Not a bad pitch.
Not a bad
You're
pitch
right,
at
it
all.
was a close call. That's a pitch that could have gone either way.
I think Kelly got a break from Dale Ford right there. Now Bell with his big bat from the number 4 spot. 0 for 2 tonight, but robbed of the 4th inning by Buechele, who flagged out a screamer at third base. Low ball 1. But foul left side. You know the guy, and this might surprise you, who has solved Charlie Huff best over the years? Tom Brookins. Lifetime .393 average against Charlie Huff.
Charlie said the one guy he could never get out was Joe Morgan. He said he never had too much trouble with Pete Rose, but Morgan was the guy who drove him nuts.
Here's the 1-1. Taken inside by Bell. 2 balls and a strike. Huff has pitched in 3 championship and 3 World Series for the Dodgers. Pitched to the '86 All-Star game as a member of the Texas Rangers.
And they're up and throwing again in that Texas bullpen.
He has not prospered against the Jays, though. 6-9 lifetime, and went through a stretch of over 3 years when he did not beat Toronto between '85 and '88.
The left-hander out in the bullpen is Brian Bohannon, and Gary Milkey, the right-hander. 45 is Bohannon, player on the left. He's a rookie. They say he will be outstanding. Bell lines one, but it is foul.
Oh, another screamer left side.
Talking to Tom House before the game, he had nothing but raves for Bohannon, who was their #1 draft choice. He said the kid knows how to pitch. This is his first year. He throws hard, right around 90 miles an hour.
Ryan Bohannon. We may see him soon if Charlie doesn't get this man Bell.
Tommy House has done a pretty good job. There he is with Nolan Ryan on the right. House is so easy to talk to and loves to sit and talk about pitching. He's written about 3 books now.
And Ryan has written all kinds of books with his performance on the mound over the years. It was a very big out for Charlie Huff, getting George Bell right there.
Bell went out of the strike zone. Notice how he was hitting off his front foot, little off balance.
Strikeout number 5 for Huff, who will stay to face McGriff. Wilson at second base. Gruber with a walk at first, and 2 runs in here in this 5th inning for the Jays.
Hitting has so much to do with weight distribution in that batter's box. When you get out on that front foot and you're off balance, it's almost impossible.
Ball 1. McGriff walked to the 4th, grounded out of the 2nd. Takes it inside for ball 2, 2-0. Outside ball 3.
After McGriff, I think they'll go to the rookie Bohannon, the left-hander, to face Olerud. If McGriff gets on.
He'll take the walk readily enough if Charlie doesn't find the strike zone. There's called strike 1. McGriff taking all the way. Charlie throws it these days. Full count.
I'll tell you how hard he threw that one. It almost looked like a fastball. It wasn't. It's amazing how he can control that knuckleball, isn't it?
Griff takes down low, gets the walk, loading him up to John Olerud. Pitchers with the most walks in the league last year were all members of the Texas Rangers. Huff ranked 3rd behind Nolan Ryan and Bobby Witt.
Now Valentine there discussing with pitching coach Tom House. As the catcher, Petralli will go out and kill some time, and it looks like Valentine will probably go to the bullpen. Who knows what he's going to do with that smile on his face.
Well, what he's smiling about, it's not a very happy situation. He's down 2, bases loaded. And a tough young hitter coming up, and they will leave Huff to face him. The thinking being that Olerud simply hasn't seen, apart from a couple of outings tonight, this kind of pitching. So they'll take their chances with Huff.
Yes, they will.
Right to Franco. Blue Jays leave the bases loaded. But they get 2 as they rough up Huff and break on top 2-0 after 5 on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. The Texas Rangers standpoint. But for now, the 2 will do as we go to the 6th inning. Houston, Palmeiro, and Baines, the top of the Texas order. The Jays on top by a pair.
It's early in the season, Don. It would have been nice to get Steve a couple more runs and get him out of the ball game. He has pitched so well. It's a long season. Another 160 games left.
Well, undoubtedly, here in the 6th inning, they'll begin to watch him a little more carefully. At age 32, Dave Manyfield is becoming a 7-inning starter at the best of times. Little squibber, good fielding. Steve picks it up and guns down Jeff Eason. 1 gone here in the 6th inning. A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Cystic Fibrosis Foundation on behalf of the Labatt's Player of the Game for the Blue Jays. And Canon's new Sure Shot. Fully automatic with standard lens and the amazing new push-button wide-angle lens. You don't just get the picture, get the whole wide-angle picture with the new Sure Shot. Remember your summer with Canon. Rafael Palmeiro, the first baseman, 0 for 2 tonight. 2 for 3 last night.
Steve has only given up 1 hit. That was back in the 1st inning. A line drive single by Harold Baines.
He has walked a couple since then. No other blemishes on his chart from that point on. Looks as though he's still got plenty left, Fergie.
Well, he's just over 70 pitches at this point.
Crack foul right side. Reminder again to join us for our next CTV telecast. And our new analyst Tommy Hutton will be with us on that occasion from Kansas City. Beautiful Royal Stadium Easter Sunday. This coming Sunday at 2:30 Eastern Time.
You'll really enjoy Tommy Hutton. He's very personable, easy to talk to, and I'm sure you'll enjoy him.
Just the 2nd hit tonight off Steve. Palmeiro gets it. 1 out here in the 6th inning. That'll bring up the man who has the other hit, Harold Baines. Well, he ranks with the best of them for wins in the 80s. Dave Steve with 140. His career total, the best ever in Blue Jay history, 148.
Remember when Steve signed that long-term, that 25-year contract with the Blue Jays? And
$25 million.
Yeah, 25 million. I'm sorry. Everybody thought the Jays were nuts at the time. I'll tell you what, the Blue Jays got a heck of a bargain, as it turns out.
Yep. By today's prices, indeed.
He's a steal by today's prices.
Shallow left field. Fernandez will take charge, ranging back to collect the 2nd out. So Baines is gone.
Make no mistake about it. As Tony Fernandez goes, so go the Blue Jays. And that will be the story, I think, again this year. If he stays healthy, has a good season, the Blue Jays will be right there. But he is the man that makes this team tick.
You can make that case in tonight's game because the Blue Jays were struggling along, no runs, very few hits. He struck out twice in the early going. And then as part of the 5th inning, he contributes a triple. And it all fell together for at least 2 runs, could have been more. Ruben Sierra, he's 0 for 2. likes to hit the long ball in Arlington.
He can hit it anywhere. You try to pitch him in tight, in on the hands. And Steve goes away for a strike on the outside part of the plate. But that's a difficult pitch to hit as well.
1-1. Steve 17-8 last year, 16-8 the year before. Could this be his 20-win season? Finally, 2-1. He would love to get out of the gate with one here tonight.
I thought Steve and Al Leiter were the two most impressive pitchers in spring training, and you could also make a case for David Wells. I was really impressed with Leiter. Look at that slider.
2-2, despite the high kick from Sierra, he blows it past it.
I'll tell you, there was some juice in that pitch.
That's the one he has to have working well if he's to be a big winner. The last couple of years, it's been a marvelous pitch for Dave. Freddie McGriff, he'll take it alone. Sierra and the Rangers are gone as they strand Palmero, wasting his base hit. We head to the bottom of the 6th inning with the Toronto Blue Jays leading the Texas Rangers 2-0 on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball. On
Texas Rangers, as I said, Tom House said he's going to be a good one. He's one of the most composed young left-handers that he has seen. He's got a real good handle on what it takes to be a major league pitcher. Good game sense, says House.
Just 21 years of age, here to make his mark in the majors with the Texas Rangers. After serving his time in Charlotte, Tulsa, and assorted cities across the United States, he's arrived.
Despite the fact that he had elbow surgery last year.
He missed all of '88 after a slight tear in his left elbow.
A little sinking fastball that you just saw. Throws a circle change. There's that sinking fastball again.
Full count to Greg Myers, the catcher, bottom third of the Blue Jay order here in the 6th inning. Foul out of play.
Word traveled pretty quickly on Bohannon in spring training.
And he was a great prospect back in high school. 3 no-hitters and a 119 earned run average in his senior year. That'll get some scouts' attention, but he gives up a walk to Myers here as Myers wins this battle of rookies.
Myers had a pretty good night. Base hit, and he's done an excellent job behind the plate with Dave Steed. And that was the big question mark in spring training, and after they traded the great veteran Ernie Whitt, who was the most popular player ever to don a Blue Jay uniform, and a lot of fans will miss him. But Ernie's defense did suffer somewhat the last couple of years, and that was strictly the reason they traded him. It was because of defense. They knew that Ernie could still hit you your 15 home runs and drive in 50 or 60 runs, but the time had arrived for Greg Myers, and it was now or never.
While he is sound defensively, the question is, in his first year, can he at least replace what they lost with Witt's bat, which were 11 home runs and 53 runs batted in?
Don, I really don't think he has to. If he does a good job defensively, I think that's what they're looking to Myers for.
Maybe hope that Borders picks up his run production a notch.
And he will. He will. He's got another year under his belt.
A strike to Liriano, who is hitless tonight, 0 for 2. Myers standing at first base, aboard for the second time.
Myers, of course, is no threat whatsoever to steal a base.
Neither was Ernie. With the odd exception.
You got that one right. I tell you, Don, Ernie was a joy to work with, wasn't he, over the years?
Certainly was. The last original Blue Jay. Parted company with Toronto in early December, off to Atlanta, where he had a pretty good spring with the Atlanta Braves.
He'll help that young pitching staff.
Preoccupation continues with Myers. Question becomes why.
Yeah, they must think the hit and run is on.
Kansas City again against the Jays. April 20th, 21st, and 22nd right here in the Sky Dome. Bo Jackson and company coming in with a great pitching staff. Mariano, a long look just out of the picture there to John McLaren for some new signs down to third. It's way back, but Incaviglia has some room.
He got a great jump on the ball.
Had to.
He sure did.
Well hit by Lariano, but Myers retreats to first base with one out.
Crack of the bat. Incaviglia was off and running. He got under it, Lariano did, just a bit. But you notice that Incaviglia was already gone. He's there, one hands it. But he makes it look rather routine.
Determined not to get burned a second time. Word from Valentine to his young pitcher as he prepares to face Junior Felix. National League today, Cubs winners. Expos are leading. Rain in Atlanta took care of the activities there. Down and in, Felix takes it. He walked in the third, doubled and scored in the fifth inning. It's just missed at the knees. Bohannon falls behind Felix 2-0.
Well, it was Felix, as McLaren flashes those signs, that got the Blue Jays on the scoreboard. Got the ball rolling in the fifth inning with that double, Don.
Those two close pitches make me wonder, are we seeing a more patient Felix this time around? All three. He's been a pretty free swinging young player, but in this at bat, he's holding back. Fastball for a strike. It is 3-1. Fernandez, who tripled and drove in a run, is on deck. There's Tony. Jays on top 2-0. Myers off and running, but the walk is issued, so he slows down at second base. Felix at first for Tony Fernandez.
It's still only a 2-0 ball game here in the sixth inning, so I'm not sure that Valentine will want to stay much longer with the rookie Bohannon, because the Rangers still got a chance to win this ball game.
Well, not having seen him walk two of the three hitters and have the other hit a fairly deep fly ball to left, so he'll watch him very carefully, I'm sure. The ex-Dodger, Bobby Valentine. Good pal of Tommy Hutt. Our new analyst we mentioned coming in Sunday. Bobby Valentine is. to center field, but Pettis leisurely takes a couple of steps back and makes the catch. Tag made. On to third base goes Myers with 2 out.
Well, that's alert baseball by Greg Myers. Pettis doesn't have a great arm, and he picked up his third base coach, John McLaren, and watched McLaren, kept his eyes on him, and then made the move to third.
And here is Mookie on the heels of his RBI single of the 5th inning. Left side. Michelle running out of room. Watches it land about 12 rows deep.
Don, I'll never forget last season when Mookie Wilson joined the Toronto Blue Jays. First night he went 0 for 4. I was sitting down by the dugout in his second start, and I can remember he hit a single to center field. He stretched it into a double, and to me it was that very one base hit that turned the season around, of course, after Cito took over. Because I looked into the dugout, and here's a guy, 33 years old, stretching a single into a double, really flying, really hustling, and the guys in the dugout were a little amazed at Mookie. I mean, you're talking a routine single to center field, and that made the difference, I thought. It gave that ball club a big inspiration.
He indeed was the igniter who turned the season around in a hurry. It was a team that had really lacked leadership until he arrived. And that tells you something with Mookie starting in center field last year.
Well, I think when he arrived, they won 14 of the next 21 ball games. Now everybody's asking, can the Mookster do it again? Can he turn in a big season this year? I think if Mookie hits around 270, gets a 320, 330 on base percentage, and steals about 20 bases, that'll be a pretty good season.
He has always needed to play, and the Mets chose not to give him that chance on an everyday basis. Hits at the left side. Runners were off and going, but he's gone at first base despite his hustle as the Jays strand 2 in the 6th inning.
Go to umpire's room.
After 6, it remains 2-0 Toronto on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CT's inning. We're sure if Dave would return, but he has gone after 6 solid innings of work tonight, shutting out the Texas Rangers and turning it over to the fireballer Henke.
Don, I'm a little surprised at this move. Here it is, the 7th inning. And Henke is in the ball game. Tom Henke has not had a good spring training. I had a long talk with him before the ball game, and he said, you know, it's the old story, I need to pitch lots of innings. He didn't pitch many in spring training. I said, well, what about leading up to spring training? Did you throw back home? He said, a little bit. I didn't throw off a mound. You'd almost think that a guy with a new contract that he's getting, over $7 million, that knowing that he's a slow starter, they would throw a little more before he gets to spring training. As Galen Cisco on the left, the pitching coach, and Cito Gaston. So Tom Henke is into the ball game, and he's going to get a shot at it.
You don't often see him this early in a ball game, this early in the season, certainly. Hard hop to Fernandez. He handles it well, and Franco is gone.
Dave Steve, though, was brilliant tonight. A 2-hitter, and just a great job.
81 pitches, and I guess they deemed that was enough this early in the year.
Well, as I said earlier, Steve came to spring training, and he was in good shape. I mean, he was throwing hard the first day, and looked like he could go out and pitch 4 or 5 even that day. So of all the pitchers, I would say he was in the best shape.
This is Petralli, 0 for 2. Did hit the ball hard to McGriff, though, in the 5th inning. Cuts and fouled the plate for a strike. Likes to hit on the road a lot more than in Arlington, strangely enough. That is an amazing number. Here comes Cito.
I don't know if Hanky hurt himself or what the situation is. Myers obviously caught something.
Cito making sure that all is well with his big stopper. And Hanky says it is. The Tigers come in. Cecil Fielder and Lloyd Moseby among them. May 4th, 5th, and 6th here in the Sky Dome for a 3-game series. Hanky continues against Petrale.
Hanky really has always been a 2-pitch pitcher. Good fastball and that forkball. And he had a slider. He picked up a slider, a little bit of a slider last year. He's trying to throw a new one that has a better spin on it this year. And that's what he worked on in spring training.
Upstairs to Petrale, 1 and 2. He had a horrendous earned run average of 10.50, working 6 innings in the spring, and gave up 2 home runs. So as you say, not a vintage Hanky spring. There's the 1-2 to Petrale. Up high again. Count even now, 2-2.
Said his fastball's not even up to 90 miles an hour yet. But he'd be a little more pumped up, of course, tonight. Opening night, 50,000 fans looking on, and the old adrenaline flowing.
There was a season, 2 years ago, he didn't get up to full speed until July.
Well, under Jimmy Williams last year, he opened up the season. He was 1 and 3 and a couple of saves. And when Cito took over, he went 7 and 0 and 18 saves and 19 opportunities. But I don't think it was so much Jimmy to Cito. It was a situation where it was early in the season.
Stroke to center. Wilson retreats, makes the catch to get Petrale.
And Hanky wasn't ready.
So at 33-34, Mookie Wilson showing decent range out in center field, something the Jays thought they were not getting from Lloyd Moseby in the latter part of his career.
Well, there's no question. Mookie Wilson can go get a fly ball better than Lloyd could. The only thing is, Mookie does not have a good arm, but then again, neither did Lloyd. So it's a question. The one thing that Mookie might give you is a little more speed on the base paths, but I think he's a better outfielder.
Ball 1 to Incaviglia, and an opening day in Fenway. Moseby got burned by that lack of range, a ball over his head in center field. But having said that, Lloyd playing in Detroit in that ballpark, it'll probably extend his career.
Oh, there's no question about it. In Detroit, Moseby could hit 20 to 25 home runs for the Tigers. In all the years we watched the Shaker here in Toronto, never saw him dive for a ball. He'd slide a lot, never dove. That's what they used to say about Garcia. He'd never leave his feet for a ground ball. Never dive after one at second base.
Did he catch on? Did he?
No, he's out. He's finished.
He was trying with a couple of teams. I think the Yankees he had a shot at this spring.
The Yankees
didn't make
released him.
Yeah. Back to Mookie, and he's got to travel deeper for this one. Can't get it. Off the wall. Incaviglia is stopping at second base. Straightaway center field, just beyond the grasp of Mookie Wilson.
Well, it was a fastball he was sitting on. Wilson went back. It's a situation where he looked back a couple of times.
Got to jump too soon.
Instead of going to where he thinks the ball will come down and then turn. You can't run and keep looking back like that on a shot that was hit that hard by Incaviglia.
He had a couple of steps still left. He didn't realize
he sure
that.
did. He could have gotten closer to the fence. A good outfielder, a guy like Gary Pettis, he'll run to the spot, turn around, and there he is. Ball sitting there waiting for him.
Got Bosley pinch hitting now.
All three balls off Hanky been hit hard here in this inning.
Hitting for Buechele, and a strike to him.
He's a pretty good pinch hitter. He handled that job very well for the Texas Rangers last year. Good low ball hitter. And he'll come up and get a fastball and pick it off when it's high and away. The type of guy that you're going to see a lot of sinker balls or fork balls from Hanky.
Bosley fouling it off.
He challenged him on that one. Fastball down the pipe.
He's been around, Bosley. His best year as a pinch hitter was with the Cubs in '85. Hit .333 that season. Fading foul and out of play, left side. Well, as you look at the hockey score, Toronto ahead 3-2 now in the third period. Brennamore has scored his second goal. Hannon, Pearson, and Lehman for the Leafs. 3-2 Toronto. You know, the Leafs have to win to take it back to St. Louis for a fifth game. Struck him out. A decent inning for Henke despite the long double off the wall by Incaviglia. As he gets Bosley with his trademark. A high hard one. 7th inning stretch time. Advance Blue Jays baseball on shortstop for the Texas Rangers, Jeff Kunkel. And Houston, the shortstop, moves over to third base. And the third Texas pitcher of the night is Gary Milkey. Right-hander.
Down and under pitcher. He'll come down and under. He'll throw a sinker ball. And really, that's his one pitch. He gets away from that sinker ball, and he's in trouble. He'll throw it 90, 92 miles an hour.
He was picked late in the amateur draft, the 26th round back in June of '85 by the Rangers. Facing Gruber here. Starts him off with a strike. He relies on that hard-sinking fastball and a big breaking slider. Tough on right-handers, but not so rough on left-handed hitters. Gruber sends it foul right side. 0-2.
Blue Jays only faced him once all last season, and they got to him for 3 hits in a third of an inning.
And a run. For the shortstop, Kunkel. Good hustle by Gruber, but he gets him by a step.
Milkey sawed the bat off as all 3 pitches that he threw to Gruber were on the inside part of the plate.
He's got a tough out on his hands here in the person of George Bell. He is hitless tonight, but he has hit the ball hard. Ball 1. Blue Jays have left 8 runners stranded tonight. They had the potential for more than the 2-0 lead they enjoy right now. Round goes Bell, 1-1.
Bell in spring training, sure, he was getting his base hits, but he was not hitting for power. And that's sort of the way we saw him end up the season last year.
And is the same factor involved, that lingering shoulder problem of his? Is that the reason for lack of power?
Well, George will be looking for a new contract next year, so I think you'll see a good season out of him.
I think that was part of my observation earlier at spring training, how he was a kinder, gentler George.
Oh, that'll change, don't worry. Just give him time.
He was rather cheerful, accommodating to most requests from the media.
Well, I've never had a problem with him, but I'll tell you what, he can get on the rag in an awful quick hurry.
I think you probably are the only man he ever liked.
Well, that's only because I go to his golf tournament in the Dominican
That could be the reason. And pay your own way. 2-2 to George. Franco throws him out, so he's gone 0 for 4 tonight. And here he comes.
Well, they're looking for George to drive in 100 runs again this season, and I'm sure that he'll do it or come close to it. But you could tell with his swing that he's not swinging with any authority at the plate. And with Bell, when he gets that weight shift working and that weight balance in the batter's box, he's just a different hitter, a much more confident hitter.
He doesn't want to talk about it. I think he has trouble now with both shoulders, to tell you the truth.
Well, he didn't talk about it last year, and you could see how much he was hurting. I haven't seen any indication of it in spring training or so far into the season.
He'll play through it all, no matter what.
The Blue Jays wanted Bell to see Dr. Andrews, and he wouldn't. He said, my shoulders are fine. Nobody's going to cut my shoulder.
He'll play through it all, no matter what.
The Blue Jays wanted Bell to see Dr. Andrews, and he wouldn't. He said, my shoulders are fine. Nobody's going to cut my shoulder.
McGriff has walked a couple of times. Cuts it foul to go 1-2. The Jays are coming off their worst spring ever. In fact, it was the worst of any of the 26 major league teams, going 4-10. What's the old saying? Bad rehearsal, good performance.
Well, they had a great spring training last year, and look what happened to them.
The reverse.
They fell out of the box, 12-24, and Jimmy Williams lost his job. I honestly don't think winning is important in spring training, Don, although as fans, we all like to see the Blue Jays win every time they hit the field.
Well, it's been a night off on the French Revolution, the miniseries on CTV. It returns tomorrow night. Be sure not to miss part 3 on CTV. Exceptional times required exceptional measures.
Paul Kilgus and Dwayne Ward are now throwing. Kilgus, the left-hander, they picked him up from the Chicago Cubs. They traded Jose Nunez, and Nunez now is the Cubs' number 4 starter.
Kilgus gives the Jays some balance out of the pen from the left side. Not a fireballer. He'll nibble away. Has done so very effectively.
And if one of the starters falter, a Flanagan or a Key, or whoever it might be, Kilgus is there to step in.
McGriff at a full count keeps it there. We are in the Toronto 7th. All the scoring came in the 5th. The Jays got 2. They hit the Rangers 4-3 and lead 2-0 at the bottom of the 7th inning on opening night of the Sky Dome. Lash to right. long single as Sierra got there in a hurry.
Oh, great play by Ruben Sierra. Shows you the speed and the ability that he has as an athlete to cut that rope off hit by McGriff, and I mean it was a shot. And notice how quickly he gets over and how quickly he stops and gets that ball back in. He's a good one.
And handled the bounce here on foreign artificial turf. Bobby Valentine is going to make another change, it appears. Looking to go to a left-hander. The indication down in the bullpen.
Well, Kenny Rogers is out there.
Guitar and all, huh?
So for Milky, you know, he did his job. He's got 2 out. And Valentine now knows, he feels at least, that Cito is going to stick with Olerud against right-handers and left-handers.
So he's on his way to the mound, and while he makes that trip, let us take a journey on the Esso Road to Excellence.
The Esso Road to Excellence with Tommy Hutton, Major League player and broadcaster.
With spring here, do you know there are over 350,000 amateur players across Canada poised for another active baseball season? And that doesn't even include the hundreds of thousands more playing softball and t-ball. That's why almost 150 young Canadians are playing college baseball in the States this spring, and over 30 Canadians are playing in the pros. The dreams of today become tomorrow's realities on the Esso Road to Excellence.
As you look at Rogers, a reminder we'll be hearing much more of Tommy Hutton on Sunday from Kansas City. Our next telecast, 2:30 Eastern Time. Check for the time in your area. Rogers 3-4 in '89, a decent earned run average for the Texas Rangers. He's still blossoming. He's just 25 years old. Quite a find after 7 minor league seasons. It all came together for him in '89. He was not chosen until the 39th round of the amateur draft, almost an afterthought in '82. But he arrives with a 90-plus fastball, a better-than-average slider, and a pretty effective pitcher for Texas.
And folks, with John Olerud, he will stay in the ball game. It tells you what Cito Gaston thinks of him. And I rather suspect that the Blue Jay organization and Cito, they want Olerud as their everyday DH, left-handers, right-handers, doesn't matter who they face. It'll be interesting to see if that's the role they're going in, the direction I should say. I think they are.
That may be the intent, obviously, with this move right here. Now, how well he handles it, Olerud, as time goes on will dictate whether or not it becomes the pattern, but they're going to try it, at least for now. Showing tremendous respect and placing a lot of confidence in
I'll say it is.
A young hitter. Letting him face all kinds of pitching. NCAA Player of the Year, and had he not had the illness, of course, he would have gone much higher than round 3 when Pat Gillick picked him. And then had a terrible time signing him. Dug his heels in, wanted to go back to college for his final year. And Gillick made the price right in the end.
I'll tell you what, that pitch didn't miss by much, but he looked like he was taken all the way.
1-1 now. Rogers evens it up. Dale Ford calling balls and strikes.
It's the old story, though, late in the ball game, make that pitcher throw you a strike.
And not many young hitters will make a pitcher at any time do that. Olerud has the patience, certainly. Just missed. 2-1. 4-2. The Leafs have survived. Will take it back to St. Louis. For the Blues in front 3-1 now. Ed Olczyk getting the insurance goal into an open net. 4-2 Toronto Finals. So we welcome all you hockey fans and your converters who just jumped back to us.
It's a great ball game. 2-0. Blue Jays leading. And we're in the 7th inning.
I'd like to have the battery concession tomorrow because I think folks tonight probably wore the converter batteries out in one evening on a big sports night here in Toronto and across Canada.
Rogers is a 4-pitch pitcher who happens to have a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got an excellent move to first. Picked 7 runners off last year. He's been fooling around with a sinker ball. He probably won't use it, although he was throwing it in spring training. He won't use it at least until he gets into a game either with a comfortable lead or a few runs down.
Here's the 2-2 into the dirt. Off goes McGriff to second base easily.
Petrelli is just telling Rogers to relax, calm down. Don't forget, Kenny, you got another rookie at the plate. Rogers was the setup man for Russell last season.
They would pick their spots for Kenny, usually a batter here, a couple of batters there in key situations. He appeared in 73 games.
And he was tough against the Blue Jays. Only 1 earned run for Toronto in 10 1/3 innings.
Just missed. Oru takes the walk. They're at first and second, 2 out for the catcher, Greg Myers.
Don, he took some great pitches, didn't he? I mean, pitches that are borderline.
Not sure we're going to see Myers. Nobody has emerged yet for the Blue Jay dugout.
Well, they might go to wait and see. Manny
Here's
Lee.
Borders getting ready. Borders has got the bat.
Pat Borders.
And he will let Liriano settle in the circle behind him and come to the plate. Hitting for Greg Myers.
Well, as you are all aware of, Borders, first ball, fastball hitter. And he's up there hacking away. You can almost bet on the fact that he'll go after that first pitch if it's anywhere close.
You also know that he was not a catcher early in his career, had to learn that position, has learned it exceptionally well. Learned it in a hurry at the major league level. He's been known to deliver runs, though, as you can see. 288 with men in scoring position last year. He's got McGriff at second, Oru at first. Watches it float wide, ball 1. Low. Pat had his own mini training camp during the lockout. Indoor batting cage, pitching machine at his home in Lake Wales, Florida.
Well, you look back at his numbers from last year. He had his most success against the Texas Rangers. Hit close to 400.
Lifetime .324 against this team. But nothing here as the Jays strand 2 more. They have left a total of 10 on the night. It remains after 7. Toronto 2 and Texas nothing on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. The best fastballs in the game he possesses, often in the 91, 92-mile-an-hour range. Of course, as you know, his trouble has been controlling that, and his control has varied over the years. But certainly, he's come a long way since arriving from Atlanta.
Don, he's had one other problem too. He has always been a 1-speed pitcher. whether it be a fastball or a slider. In spring training, he's been working on a split-fingered fastball, and that'll be his change of speed pitch. Now, if he can perfect that, he'll be that much better. As hard as he throws, if he can throw a good off-speed pitch, he'll really be tough to hit. So I'm not sure he's going to throw it tonight, but I know he's been working on it.
Borders catching him now. The scouts, though, are quick to warn, though, that Dwayne can develop arm problems if he doesn't change his mechanics. They love his fastball, but coming across his body and slinging it in the way he does.
Well, he's a horse. He's done it all these years, and I'm sure he'll continue to do it. He hasn't had any arm problems.
Not yet, 26 years of age.
Well, Pettis swung at that in defense.
Lucky the bat was in front of him. 1-2 is the count after Pettis. Houston and Palmeiro scheduled for Texas here in the 8th inning. Good look at it right there from that camera high atop the dome. Pettis laying off has been regarded as a sucker for the high fastball over the years. Learning to hold back on that against this kind of pitcher.
You remember how last year started. Henke started slow, and one of the reasons that he was sharing the stopper's role with Dwayne Ward. Well, that came to an end when Jimmy Williams left, and it was handed to Henke where it belonged.
Here's Ward's 2-2. Struck him out. Steve fanned 4. Henke got 1. And now Ward fans his first batter.
Well, that was a simple case of challenging Pettis. Here's my fastball. Go ahead and hit it.
Now the man who began the night at shortstop shifted to third, Jeff Houston. Ward just missed inside with him. Palmeiro on deck behind Houston. Inside again, 2-0.
Ward has always been a power pitcher. You know, he was a little upset because there were some reports that said that he was tired the second half of the season. He said, nobody asked me if I was tired. And he said, I can tell you that I wasn't. He said, all I want, just give me the ball. I want to go out and pitch. And I know you look at the ERA, there's no question.
Foul away, 2-2.
But you got to remember, he pitched 30 more innings in the first half of the season, too. And he did a better job. He was pitching in the first part of the season with confidence. He didn't have that confidence in the second half.
And he was powerful enough to strike out 122 in a little over 114 innings.
And he led the Blue Jay staff in strikeouts.
Continuing his battle here with Jeff Houston at 2-2. One gone, the Texas 8th. Toronto leading 2-0. Both runs coming in the 5th inning. But again, the Blue Jays looking a lot like the '89 Blue Jays, leaving too many men on base, wasting some good scoring chances. They've stranded 10 so far tonight. It has been quite a night in the Sky Dome. 50,000 plus. Presidents, prime ministers in attendance. And I can assume that our honored guests have departed for the night now.
Commissioner of Baseball's here as well.
Hey, Vincent. Wilson collects the liner from Houston for the second out. This game seen not just across Canada on CTV, but across the United States as well tonight. So again, Toronto is in the sports spotlight.
The president of the American League, Dr. Bobby Brown, is here with his lovely wife. Everybody walked into this Dome Stadium today shaking their heads. They couldn't believe the security.
It was in abundance. In fact, during our pregame preparations, members of our crew, our producer Tom McKee, couldn't get from one point to another for our meeting. We couldn't then, after the meeting, get from that point down to our broadcast location because the leaders were still meeting, and they sealed entire areas off. Like the media were standing out in the rain for the better part of an hour waiting for their credentials for the doors to open. So it was a different day on opening day 1990 in Toronto. Palmeiro with a 2-1 count. 1 for 3 on the evening. Two and two. Hard to keep tabs on what Cito is thinking. After the game, it'll be interesting to ask him. Henke in the 7th inning, 1 inning only. This is a solid shot into left center field. Wilson cuts it off, but heading for second base is Palmeiro. He's got the double. Is it his intention to use Ward the rest of the way? Or will each of the relievers, maybe David Wells, come on for inning number 9?
It depends how Ward does here, because Wells has been simply outstanding. He did a good job last night, but this is almost a gapper. Look at the speed of Mookie Wilson. Cut that off. That should have been a triple. And Mookie did a great job as Cito comes out of the dugout to talk to Ward now. Everybody's been talking about the way David Wells has been pitching. He did it in spring training, and again last night he turned in a solid effort. Down in Arlington, he pitched an inning in the 3rd and only gave up 1 base hit. He came into the ball game and faced Harold Baines with 2 on and got Baines.
That's what he has to do right here.
Yep.
Harold Baines, the next hitter, and Cito will go to Wells, the left-hander, to face him. Baines, the big run producer last night, though, not at Wells' expense earlier in the game, off Stottlemyre. 2-run shot, drove in 3 in the Texas 4-2 victory. You're watching as Wells comes in. Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on 4th pitcher of this opening night. Those are his numbers last year. But down the stretch, he allowed only 3 earned runs in his final 23 appearances and held the opponent scoreless in 20 of those games. And yet, he's the kind of guy one night looks entirely unhittable and the next night absolutely hittable. Inconsistency plagued him in the past, but certainly toward the end of last season, he got into a groove.
He was throwing in the low 90s last night in Arlington. I thought he looked real sharp.
He comes on to face the left-handed power of Harold Baines, key figure in that big trade of the White Sox late last season.
Baines is a tough out.
Appeal to third base is denied by umpire Jim Evans, so it is ball 1. Baines did not swing. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Palmeiro at second base. Baines brings the Texas tying run to the plate with 2 out here in the 8th inning. On the ground, a roller to McGriff. Wells covering. The flip, and the inning is over.
A play that they practice quite a bit in spring training. See him doing it every day. The pitcher covering it first. It should be routine, and Wells made it routine.
Rangers lead their 6th base runner. It remains 2-0 Toronto on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball 2-0 lead of the home half of the 8th inning. Nelson Lariano, Junior Felix, and Tony Fernandez. The Dominican connection scheduled for the Jays in this inning. Lariano hitless tonight. Felix has been on 3 times, has scored along with a double, and Fernandez has tripled, driving in a run also. Rogers missing outside. It is 1-1 to Liriano, who's gained respect for his quick bat speed.
You know, we talked about the strength of this ball club off the top of our telecast, Don, and how the starting staff, the only one of them that was above 500 last year was Dave Steve. But what Steve did tonight, he turned in 6 innings and was simply brilliant. Gave up only 2 hits. They didn't score on him. And then they got into the Blue Jay bullpen, and that was the strength of the club last year. And Hankey and Ward and Wells so far have done an excellent job too. So the game is going the way it should go for the Blue Jays.
Liriano generally regarded as a better hitter from the left side, but he's almost even in terms of percentages. 4 points left to right last year, so that doesn't bear that thinking out, and most scouts really think he is better from the left side of the plate. Hitting right here, of course, against Rogers with a full count. Palmeiro does get it. Reaches into the photographer's bay and somehow comes away with it.
Well, that was a pretty good effort. He got to the fence, and look at how he fought to hang on to that ball. He knew where the fence was. Of course, the players in the dugout, as close as he was, they were helping him out.
Yeah, he was in friendly territory over there. Rafael Palmeiro, he's had a good night with the glove and with a bat. Now Felix. Breaking ball, taken for ball 1. Where Tommy Hutton is in sunny California, Minnesota's jumped on top of Oakland 1-0 tonight. Way back in right center field. It is off the base of the wall, and Felix is on his way to third. The speed of Junior Felix gets him there standing up with a triple.
Don, I'd love to see a foot race from home to third between Junior Felix and Mookie Wilson, the veteran. Watch Felix fly around these bases. And for a little guy, he's got so much power. A shot to deep right, short hops the wall. Pettis gets back there in time, but Felix is easily standing up with third.
Well, he did it last year. He found the gap time and time again. Led all rookies in the league in runs and triples last year. Collects his first triple of 1990 to go with his double and 2 walks tonight.
What Felix will have to prove this year, if he can do it for 162 games. He had a great first half last year and really tailed off in the second half.
But his encounters with fences in New York and Boston might have had a role in that too. He had injury problems later on, and pitchers, as you suggest, got to know him a little better, handle him a lot better, but he's off to a great start tonight. Here is Tony Fernandez to the shortstop.
Infield was in, so Felix stayed at third.
Kunkel throws him out. That'll bring up Mookie Wilson with Felix at third base, and 2 out now as the Jays look for a little bit of insurance here for the Texas 9th inning. Sierra, Franco, and Petrale are the scheduled hitters. Wilson earlier brought Fernandez home from third base after Tony had tripled. Swings at a low offering, strike 1. Mentioned Rogers, 73 appearances, leading all major league rookies last year. He had never pitched in more than 39 games in any one of his 7 previous pro seasons, so he got a lot more work at 89. A little breaking ball is taken for strike 2.
mix-up?
Petrale wants some first-hand communications. Face-to-face.
Next 2 games between these 2 clubs. Kevin Brown will face John Cerruti tomorrow. And Jamie Moyer against Mike Flanagan on Thursday.
Moyer, the ex-Cub, part of that big trade involving Palmeiro. Rogers 0-2. Full Buki on it. And the Blue Jays strand Felix, their 11th abandoned base runner of the night. We will go to the Texas 9th inning. Last chance for the Rangers, trailing the Toronto Blue Jays 2-0 on Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball on CTV. The Blue Jay pitching staff working a shutout tonight, checking Texas on 4 hits for the 2-0 Toronto lead. But oh my, the Jays could have had so many more runs on so many different occasions tonight. But for now, the 2 will do, as Sierra, Franco, and Petrale, the 4, 5, 6 hitters, come to the plate for Texas against left-hander David Wells. Low to Sierra, a very tough out, nonetheless hitless tonight.
Well, there's no question, Don, he's the most dangerous hitter in their lineup.
Ideally, if Bobby Valentine had his way, he'd have him wait 1 or 2 times because he doesn't want him leading off. It's to the wall and gone. Sierra leads off with a home run that brings the Rangers within 1.
Well, Wells got one up in Sierra's wheelhouse. And the way Bell played that ball, it looked like he might have had a shot at it, but he didn't. Just made it over the fence, but they count.
Yeah, they gave it all he had. He just couldn't get to it. George out in left field against the fence. So high fives all right on that Texas dugout, and they are alive. A rundown with Franco at the plate. Strike 1. Franco also hitless tonight. One and one.
All the Rangers will be looking to do is get a base runner now and move him on down to second. At least try and tie this game up.
Must be a lot of confident Blue Jay fans because this stadium is really thinned out. But the game is on the line. A lot of Blues showing empty seats that were earlier occupied in this crowd of nearly 50,000. Here's the 1-2, and he struck him out. Franco goes down.
Good curveball. Bottom falls out.
Strikeout number 2 for Mr. Wells. And we get a pinch hitter for Petrale and Stanley.
Stanley's not a bad hitter. Oh, he's a catcher. Doesn't have much of an arm, but he swings a pretty good bat.
High, 1-1. Scheduled after Stanley is Incaviglia.
Stanley is an opposite field hitter.
Takes ball 2, 2-1.
Double.
Hard shot, up with it is Luriano. He throws out Stanley for the second out. Blue Jays an out away. with Incaviglia.
And he's the guy they've got to be careful with, Don. One swing of the bat can tie up this game.
He has doubled tonight and walked. Also popped up to second base.
Incaviglia, he likes the ball down an inning. Excellent fastball hitter.
Strike taken.
He sure didn't like that call. It looked like he was up in the strike zone.
Borderline, but Wells got the call. You can't really pitch this guy away either because his unusual power to right field, but Wells is 2 strikes up on him.
This pitch has got to be right in on his hands. If nothing else, move him back off the plate. No, he's going outside.
1-2. Jays a pitch away from winning their 4th home opener in a row. Two and two.
It's been a great game tonight, hasn't it?
You like pitching, defense, and doubles, triples in the gap. Home run by Sierra. A little bit of everything, really. Struck him out of the Jays. High and hard. Incaviglia couldn't hold back.
Well, pitching is the name of the game, and that's what it was for the Blue Jays tonight. Dave Stieb, 6 outstanding innings, just 2 hits, struck out 4, walked a pair. Hakey came in for an inning, gave up a hit. Dwayne Ward, 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit, and then Wells finished it off, and of course gets his first save of the season.
Fergie, the Labatt's players of the game are Dave Stieb for Toronto and Rafael Palmeiro of Texas, and a cash donation will be made on their behalf to cystic fibrosis by Cannon, and Weed Eater, an amateur baseball team, will also be their guests at a future game. So Steve, the pitching star for the Jays, and Felix with the bat. Toronto wins it by a score of 2-1 over Texas in the Security Dome tonight. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays band to work after Steve went home for the night. Little scare from Sierra with a home run in the 9th inning, but they got the job done.
And you got to feel sorry for Charlie Huff, who I thought turned in just an excellent effort for the Texas Rangers tonight. You know, at 42, he still throws a great knuckleball.
And you know what? Only 160 games left. What do you think of that?
Oh, I'm going to love every minute of it.
Yep, I am too. Down the road, we next stop in Kansas City. These two gentlemen stopped in tonight. The right-hander was Mulroney, and the left-hander was Bush, as they shared the honors of opening pitch. And tonight, this man's team wasn't quite as good as Mr. Mulrooney's team, as the Blue Jays beat the Texas Rangers by a final score of 2-1, avenging the 4-2 loss last night at Arlington, and they'll tee it up again tomorrow.
Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada, and proud sponsor of Labatt's Blue Pitch. From the major leagues to neighborhood diamonds, it's the way we play. Brought to you by Esso, makers of high-performance Esso Supreme Gasoline. By Xerox, we answer to you. And by your local bottler of Coca-Cola Classic. You can't beat the real thing. This has been a special presentation of CTV Sports, produced in association with TV Labatt by authority of the Toronto Blue Jays. The final score, the Jays win it 2-1. The winning pitcher, Dave Stieb, the loser, Charlie Huff. Major League Baseball next on CTV, Friday, April the 13th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, New York and the Expos. And the next Blue Jays game on CTV, Sunday, April the 15th against Kansas City, 2:30 Eastern. Check your local listings.
Tomorrow night, Robespierre, claiming a reign of virtue, unleashes a bloody reign of terror never again equaled in history. The years of rage continue on the sweeping saga of the French Revolution. Tomorrow night on CTV.
A packed house showed up to take in the Jays' 1990 home opener against the Texas Rangers. Included in the crowd, Baseball Commissioner Vay Vincent, American League President Bobby Brown, and a couple of political heavyweights. Prime Minister Brian Mulroney and U.S. President George Bush each tossed out the ceremonial first pitch. Don't quit your day job, gentlemen. First inning, Mookie Wilson on board after a walk, but Charlie Huff will pick him off. At least that's how the first base umpire saw it. Fourth inning, still no score. George Bell will smoke a line drive to the left side, but Steve Buechele goes way up to make the grab. In the fifth, Tony Fernandez sends a fly ball to left field. Pete Incaviglia totally misjudges the ball. Junior Felix will come around to score from second. Fernandez gets credit for a triple, 1-0 Blue Jays. The next man up is Mookie Wilson. He knocks a Charlie Huff pitch in a center field for a single. Fernandez trots home. It was 2-0. Dave Stieb allowed just 2 hits through 6 strong innings for the Jays. He had 4 strikeouts for the win. Tom Hankey, Dwayne Ward, and David Wells mopped up. The Jays beat the Rangers 2-1.
Mostly breaking balls, yeah, mostly the slider, but I threw some curveballs in there, and they break kind of similar. The curveball I think breaks across a little more than the slider does, and it breaks down. But I threw a few changeups in there and a lot of curveballs and sliders, and they were breaking good and kept them off balance.
Dave looked real well, and with time, he'll be able to go a longer distance. I was kind of sorry to see him leave because he was doing so well, but he did good while he was in there. He did great.
I'm still not 100%, but it's coming, and hopefully within a week or so, with good steady work, I'm going to be up to where I want to be.
Tomorrow night, the Rangers will send their sophomore right-hander Kevin Brown to the hill against Jays lefty John Cerruti. Tom Seaver calls Brown one of the American League's best-kept secrets in his Major League scouting report.
George Bush throwing out the ceremonial opening pitches, and of course, these fellows are good sports. They shook hands and tossed the balls into the stands and even autographed them. Jays got a runner on in the first inning. However, Mookie Wilson picked off on first by Charlie Huff. Nice move there. Jays break a scoreless tie in the 5th inning with Felix at second. Tony Fernandez lines this pitch into the left field area. Pete Incaviglia, misjudges the ball. Sails right over his head. Nice fake. Junior Felix comes in to score easily as Fernandez, he goes into third, and there's really no play at all there. It's 1-0. Mookie Wilson then golfs this pitch into the left center, cashing in Fernandez from third. 2-0 Jays after 5. Dave Stieb, we talked about him. He was excellent tonight. Pitched 6 innings of 2-hit ball, not giving up a run. Here he gets Ruben Sierra to ground out to Fred McGriff. Texas closed the gap in the top of the 9th with a leadoff homer. It's 2-1. David Wells gets the game over with right here to Pete Incaviglia. Struck him out high and hard to the outside. 2-1 is the final. Jays over the Rangers, so the Jays are 1-1 in the season. Steve gets the win. Huff takes the loss. Wells gets the save. And we hope to have some post-game reports, comments rather, later in this broadcast. I should tell you that they meet again tomorrow night, and it'll be John Cerruti for Toronto, 7:35 at the Sky Dome.